Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video, we'll be going through the brand new rules update for Warcry. Thanks to Lone Wolf over on the Discord channel and Rathammer on Instagram for letting me know that this new Warcry Errata and Designer's Commentary was released, and this came out yesterday. So this is all the new rules update for Warcry, and this is up to date now for March 2021. And you can find this by going to the Games Workshop website, and then if you scroll right to the bottom of the page, you'll see you've got products here to help related sites. Under here to help, if you look down, there's the rules errata, and then you just click on that, and that's going to take you to the Warhammer community site, and then you can choose your different language. So this is great. It's got loads of languages in there. It doesn't update them all in all the languages, I don't believe, but there's a good chance the games you play may be in your language, so that's really good. But we'll stick with English because that's the only one I know, and then we'll scroll down. And so this is going to give you all the different games, so not just Warcry, and you'll find updates for them all, and also for the different books, like the Battle Tome for Seraphon, for example. The introduction to this webpage, it basically says, looking for the latest updates to your codex or battle tome? Got a question about how something in your army works? Each of these FAQs contains all of the most up-to-date errata and answers you'll need to make sure that your games run as smoothly as possible, incorporating feedback from you guys and girls out there in the Warhammer community, the play testers, and of course, the studio design team. So yeah, this is going to give you everything you need to keep up to date. And Warcry here is on the left. So you basically click on the errata, and that's going to open up a PDF that you can download and keep, and that's going to have all the rules updates for the game. So this document contains all the errata and designers' commentaries for Warcry, organised into the following sections. So let's scroll down a little bit. You're going to get the core book, the battle plan cards, the ability cards and fighter cards, and the Monsters and Mercenary book. And those books and cards were all included in the previous erratas, and they usually bring out one every year. And if it's in black on this document, that means that's already been covered in previous erratas. But if it's in magenta or this red pink colour, then that means that there's new information. So we're going to get some new updates within these core books, battle plan cards, but they've also added some new books, which are the Tome of Champions, Catacombs, and the Grand Alliance books. So they weren't included in the previous erratas, I guess because they didn't exist when that came out, maybe. So let's have a look down and see which one comes up first. But the errata, it says here, the errata correct any errors, while the designer's commentaries provide answers to frequently asked questions and explain how the rules are intended to be used. This document is updated regularly. When changes are made, any changes from the previous version will be highlighted in magenta. Where the date has a note, for example revision 2, this means that there's been a local update only in that language to clarify a translation issue or other minor correction. Okay, so let's look through the core book first, and you can see most of this hasn't changed since the previous errata, but we've got a little change here on pages 68 to 69 for the lesser artifacts, and it's telling us to change the first sentence of all consumable lesser artifacts to read as follows. And then we have to change it to consumable. The bearer can use this lesser artifact as a bonus action. So here we go, we're on page 68 of the core book, and you can see that that amendment there is going to apply to each of these paragraphs. So we just changed that. Rather than just being an action, we changed it to a bonus action. So you can make it in addition to your regular action. That's page 68. And then the same on page 69, anywhere it says the lesser artifact is an action, we just change it. So it's going to be a few of these different ones. So that's going to apply to quite a few sections of pages 68 and 69. So that's one update. And then going down, we've got some of the commentary here. So we've got a Q&A. Are fighters visible to themselves? And the answer is no. I guess that question's aimed at if you've got an ability that says increase the attack actions of all visible fighters within 3 inches, for example, then that's going to count that. So yeah, your fighter that's using that ability isn't classed as visible to themselves. And then the next question, some abilities such as Harpoon Snag force a fighter to make a bonus move action as if they were jumping. If that fighter is within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, can they move away during this bonus move action? And the answer is no. So we treat that just as the same as a disengage. So a disengage is slightly different to a regular move action. So that disengage rule would kind of supersede that ability there. So going down. Now we're on to battle plan cards. So we'll see if there's any changes here. No changes for battle plan cards. So now it's on to the ability and fighter cards. And this will be for all the different warbands. So you can see we've got Bone Splitters, Nighthaunt, Beasts of Chaos, Skaven. And then we'll scroll down. And so no updates for that either. So now we're on to Monsters and Mercenaries. So this is that separate book. And so we've got a little update. And it says the following sections in Monsters and Mercenaries have been superseded by the relevant rule sections in Sentinels of Order, Agents of Chaos, Bringers of Death, and Harbingers of Destruction. And this is going to pretty much take out 2 sections, which are, number 1, Thralls and Monsters, which are on pages 44 to 51, and number 2, Allies, which you can find on page 52 to 63. So this is quite a big update, and the Sentinels of Order, Agents of Chaos, Bringers of Death, and Harbingers of Destruction really brought a lot of new information and updates, and so that's going to take out those 2 sections. So anytime you want to look at allies or heroes, Thralls and Monsters, it's best to use those Alliance expansion supplement books. So here's the Monsters and Mercenary book. You can see that's taken out a big chunk. You know, the book's only 65 pages long, so that's kind of eliminated almost a third of that book. So we've got all the, from page 44 to 63, we've got the Thralls and Monsters and Allies, but you've still got all the different kind of fated quests that you can embark on, and so there's still lots of information there that you can use. So just be aware that there's still stuff in there, but perhaps this is a book that you wouldn't want to purchase now, especially with those new books that have come out for the different alliances. They've really given you tons of information in those, and I think this book is almost obsolete now. You know, if a third of it isn't relevant, you've got to question whether it's worth picking it up or not. But if you really want those fated quests, and you know, it's good for the Thralls and Monsters. There's some monster battles in there that are quite fun, so I think it could be worth it for that. But on the whole, I think there's a lot of information to get in those other books first. But I think it's good to note that if you've just got the core book, or you've got the Monsters and Mercenaries book, you don't have to follow this update. You can carry on using the rules from there, and then you don't have to like buy any more books or anything like that. So that, you know, especially if you're playing at home on your own or with your friends and everyone agrees on the rules, then you don't have to buy all the books just to keep up to date. But if you like to keep up to date with the rules though, then this is the place to come, and this is going to direct you to the books to get. And also if you're playing in tournaments and competitions, they're going to be using the most up-to-date rules, I imagine. So yeah, so it's up to you whether you follow this or not. But if you like keeping up to date, like I do, then this is the place to come. Okay, so that's Monsters and Mercenaries then. So that's a big change. Very small paragraph of information, but a huge change, taking out quite a bit of that book. But you can still use the other information in there, and of course the fated quest. So let's move down to the Tome of Champions now, and this is for the 2019 book. So let's see. So there's a few changes. Nope, that's all looking good, I think. So now we're on to Catacombs, and we've got a designer's commentary here. So, can fighters with the fly rune mark fly over pits? And the answer is yes. When they do so, they do not suffer impact damage. Fighters moving over pits only suffer impact damage if they jump. So that impact damage with the pits is to signify the kind of heat coming out of the pit and causing damage as they jump over it. But if they fly, they can get high enough over it. That's the idea. They can get high enough over the pit where that heat isn't going to cause them any damage. Okay, so that covers Tome of Champions and Catacombs. So now let's look at the Grand Alliance books. And there's a few changes here. These are all new. Again, all of this information is new. And it says this section includes the errata and designer's commentary for the following books: Sentinels of Order, Agents of Chaos, Bringers of Death, and Harbingers of Destruction. So starting with the Sentinels of Order, on page 22 for the Free Guild General, we've just got to replace the Champion rune mark with the Destroyer rune mark. And that's going to affect his abilities. Here we go, so here's the Free Guild General, and we're just going to change this Champion rune mark to the Destroyer rune mark. So the implications of changing a rune mark like that are, for example, if they chose the Tempest's Eye City of Sigmar for the abilities, then it would go from a cavalry charge now, because that's the Champion rune mark, to the Destroyer rune mark, and then he'd be looking at the Pulvering Strike instead. So he's changed abilities now. Instead of having that triple, he would have the double. And that would apply for all the different cities within Cities of Sigmar. And so whichever one you choose is going to change those abilities. And for Agents of Chaos, quite a few changes here. And it seems a lot of this is relating to Slaanesh. So on page 48, Slaanesh, Cyberites, fighter abilities, both the Dunce of the Wailing Blade and Slaves to Impulse ability should be double. So they're double abilities now. And the page 50, the Slick Blade Seeker, change the Wood characteristic to 25. And page 57, the Fang Leader, change the range characteristic of the weapon to 1. And it gives you the rune mark for the weapon we've got to change there. Moving down, there's more changes. This is still in the Agents of Chaos book. So on page 64, Exalted Champion, change the range characteristic of the weapon to 1. And on page 64 for the Aspiring Champion, it says to change the damage characteristic of the weapon to 2 to 5. Here we go. So we just changed the range here to 1, and then we changed this damage here to 2 to 5. So those are the two fighters they're referring to. Now it looks like we've got a few questions going on here for these books. So let's have a look. It says, what abilities can allies use? For example, what abilities can a Chaos Sorcerer Lord use when included as an ally in an Iron Golem warband? So I think this is a question that's a lot of people have been asking about the different abilities. When you bring an ally in, they've got different rune marks. So which abilities do they use? So hopefully this is going to address that and make it clear. So the answer they've given is, allies can use any abilities for which they have all the required rune marks. This means that they can use any of the abilities on their faction's ability tables for which they have the required rune marks. To use your example, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord would be able to use the Imbued with Dark Power, Demonic Power, and Champion of Darkness abilities from the Slaves to Darkness ability tables on page 62. They would also be able to use any of the universal abilities from the Core Book, including Inspiring Presence, and if there were any enemy monsters on the battlefield, they would be able to use the monster hunting abilities. They would not be able to use any of the Iron Golem abilities, as they lack the Iron Golem faction rune mark, but would benefit from a friendly Iron Golem fighter within 6 inches using the Stand Defiant ability. Okay, so they are classed as a friendly fighter, if they're within the Iron Golem warband, then any abilities used by a friendly fighter, so that could be an Iron Golem, is going to apply to them as well. So they're not using that ability directly, they're just taking advantage of the ability because they're a friendly fighter. So it's quite a large section there, and a little bit to break down. But basically they can use whatever abilities they've got the rune marks for, and then obviously universal abilities are for everyone, and the monster hunting abilities are going to apply if there's a monster. So yeah, that clears it up, so that's really good. And the next question, if I include a Cities of Sigmar ally in my warband, do I choose a city for them to hail from? And the answer is yes. And then again, that's going to apply to the abilities, because although you've got the factions within Cities of Sigmar, it's the city that gives you the abilities, so they have to choose a city. The next question, if I include multiple Cities of Sigmar allies in my warband, can they hail from different cities? And the answer is no. So that's a really good question, because you would think you could choose one from each city, but you can't. So they've got to come from the same city. So if you choose different fighters and they're from different factions, they still have to come from the same city. And we've got another question here. Can a Crypt Haunter or Crypt Haunter Courtier use the Chosen of the King ability when there is no other friendly fighter within 6 inches that has the leader rune mark? And the answer is simply no. So that covers that. And the next question, can a fighter use the keep your distance and scurry away abilities if they are within 3 inches of an enemy fighter, but not within 1? And the answer is yes. So if they were in 1, I guess the disengage action would kind of supersede the movement action or the ability to scurry away or keep me distant. So there we go. And then scrolling down, that brings us to the end of the update. And so that's everything we need to know to stay up to date. So a good amount of information there. But I think the biggest question really for me was what abilities can allies use? Because that wasn't 100% clear from the book. So it's really good that they've updated that. So there we go, that's all the updates for Warcry, and again, if you want to find that, it's on the Games Workshop website. Scroll down to the bottom, under Here to Help, and then just click on the Rules Errata, and that'll open up all the rules for all the different games. So there we go, that's covered the update, and if you've got any questions, please add them in the comment section below. If I don't have the answer, then I'm sure someone watching the video will, and we'll all join in and help each other. I hope this video was helpful, and thanks so much for watching. But if you like the content, please have a look at my Patreon page, and that's where we've got a Discord channel where we hang out, discuss the hobby, help each other, keep up to date with all the kind of news for Warcry, Underworlds and Warhammer Quest, and it's a great place to hang out, and it's been really fun since it started. And Patreon's also a cool place where you can get some perks that you're just not going to find anywhere else. So it'd be awesome to see you there, and if you're interested, I'll put a link in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. To everyone for all their support, for subscribing, liking the videos and joining in the comment section, and thanks so much to all my Patreon supporters for helping me grow the channel and keep up with these videos every day, and a special shout out and thanks to the Inspired Wizards, Bjorn and Terry, for helping to make all this possible.